The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff or management of Visionary Related Entertainment.
Aloha and welcome to Maui Nonprofit Notes, where each week you'll find us talking story with Maui's nonprofit executive directors and staff to find out how they're working to support those with needs within our community. Maui Nonprofit Notes is generously sponsored by Pacific Source. If you're building or remodeling a home, please stop by Pacific Source's cabinet and appliance showroom located in the Waikapu Bayshard. I'm Susie Tiemann, Executive Director of Lokahi Pacific, and your host for Maui Nonprofit Notes. For those of you who may be listening for the first time to this weekly show, during the hour we share some of the experiences of our nonprofit agencies and just how they're changing lives, changing communities, and creating miracles of hope for those with needs. Today we're going to start out the show with a couple of folks from MEO, otherwise known as Maui Economic Opportunity. They're getting all set. This is not televised. Did we get the camera up, Gary? Oh, there it is. Okay, we are on. I'm kidding. We always do that. You know, when the show starts, everybody wants to dance to the music. And then we get ready for the microphones to come on, and here we are. So we have Alex Domingo, who's the Assistant Director for Early Childhood Services and the Director of Early Childhood Services. Let's see, what is her name again? Let me get this right. Debbie Amaral.
That is correct.
The Debbie Amaral.
Oh, the one and only for now, anyway. There may be another one floating around, but who knows?
Who knows?
But I'm definitely connected to MEO and very much dedicated to our Head Start and our Kahikamali'i and our Ohana Strengthening programs.
And this without giving any ages away, how many years have you been at MEO?
22.
Oh, she started when she was 10.
Oh, gosh, at least. Yeah. I'm entering, I think it's 21, actually. I'm entering into my 22nd year.
Wow.
Yeah.
You must be one of the senior people there.
There's a handful still.
Right.
And even within our program, there's several that have, from the time that I started in 95.
Teachers?
Actually, they moved up to be managers within the program, and of course there's Lynn McNeff, who's our CEO, and she and I work together in our Head Start program from the start. But there's some people that are still there, believe it or not. Yeah,
that's dedication.
And you have to have a passion. You have to have a passion to do the work that you're doing and truly working through. But the beauty of having the historic background is, appreciating how far we've come, looking at the different changes of our community and having that lens to be able to make that, better decisions on how to serve our community.
Right. So with 22 years in, let's see, if you had somebody in your class, because you started out as a teacher.
I actually, before that, I worked in the private sector as a preschool teacher at Kahalui Union Preschool, Kahalui Baptist, Wailuku Union, and the old ER Preschool, the first round of with beautiful Ivan Kealoha and Girly Kava'a. So we were lucky.
How'd you do all that before you were 10?
Oh
my gosh.
I'm a quick learner.
Okay. And you lied on your application, I can tell. No. But even starting out in the MEO program, if you had a student in your first class that you had there at MEO 22 years ago, you could now have their kids.
Absolutely. But when I got into the Head Start program, I entered in as an education coordinator back then.
Okay.
And disability coordinator. So I supported the teachers that were working with the students. So I really didn't have
the one-on-one with the students.
Yes, but I can honestly say that one of my students that I know has a bachelor's degree and is currently a teacher in the early childhood field. So,
wow.
It's just goes full circle. And I know many, many teachers experience that. And when you're out in the community, the beauty of being in a small community, and I know Alex can attest to this as well, that you see your families in Costco or Long's or at the fair, and the connections, because you see the family just grow and flourishing,
Right.
and or even if they're having challenges, the fact is that they're still intact and they're still doing their best and moving and grooving.
Well, one of my favorite Hallmark commercials, and I don't watch Hallmark Channel very much, probably not as much as I should, because I love the movies that are on there because they always have happy endings, right? We don't get enough of that anymore. But the commercial where the lady comes back to the teacher who's retiring, you remember that one?
Yes.
And she's bringing him a card, and he says something about, he opens it and he says he can't read it or something, he forgot his glasses, and she reads it. And something about what you've taught me, and I could never have done it without you, kind of thing. Obviously, I'm not a card writer because that's not what it said. But the bottom line was that he turns around then and he said, "And what did you become?" And as she's walking out the door, she says, "A teacher." What better success story is there than that?
Absolutely.
That's great.
Very true.
So, okay, now that we've got the commercial over for Hallmark. And maybe somebody else does cards like that. I don't know, but that was a commercial I saw. And it really made an impression on me because it reminded me of a story I know from back home where that really happened. And so, anyway, okay, so I've had my 10 minutes. You guys can have the rest of the show. So what are we going to talk about today besides everything about Early Head Start? Where do you want to start?
Well, we'll go ahead and talk about our the 3 programs that we serve within MEO and within Early Childhood Services. We have our Head Start program. We have our Kahikamali'i Infant Toddler program, and we also have Ohana Strengthening. And I'm going to work backwards. Usually I start with Head Start, but I'll work backwards. And I'm going to let Alex go ahead and share about Head Start when we get to that point. But Ohana Strengthening is a program that we have, and we receive funding through the Hawaii Children's Trust Fund. It's intended to build protective factors with women that are incarcerated and their children. And if you don't know what protective factors is, I would highly recommend that you do either a Google search or any type of search engine, protective factors, especially connected to the Hawaii Children's Trust Fund. And you'll learn about the several ways that we can build upon individuals' skills and experiences to help them to become resilient. And that is so important, especially when you're working with young children. The second program that I'll highlight is our Kahikamali'i program. It's a program that is supported in partnership with the J. Walter Cameron Center. It's located adjacent to the Head Start, the MEO Family Center office right off of Mahalani. And that center serves it's focused on working families, but it's also dedicated to serving families that are low income. And so the County of Maui provides us with subsidies that we can use as a scholarship to help offset the cost of tuition. It's not like our Early Head Start program or our Head Start program that it's offered at no charge. There is a tuition, and it's high, mainly because of the fact that the younger the child, the more the ratio, because we're licensed by the Department of Human Services, so it's a 1-to-5 ratio, and the tuition is $1,045 a month.
Wow.
And yeah, that is like eyebrow raising, jaw dropping, I know. But luckily, through the state, there's Child Care Connection for families that are income eligible, and they meet the schedule of it. And then also, as I said, the County of Maui, very, very generous. And I have to put a shout out to our wonderful Mayor Arakawa and our County Council members, because through their generosity, we are able to provide not only the scholarship to Kahikamali'i, but also full day care for our Head Start families, and even during the summer. So the county, we're very, very fortunate that they truly invest in our families and in young children, and understanding that the earlier we start, the more beneficial it is in the long run for a child.
So at the Infant and Toddler Center, Kahikamali'i, we're talking ages 12 months to 3 years.
Yes.
And about how many do you take care of in that age group?
Well, we have total of 15 children enrolled.
Okay.
And we just had a large group of children transition out to go into preschool. And so right now I believe we'll have probably 3 that are under 1. I'm sorry, 3 that are under 2, and the rest of them will be between 2 and 3 years old.
Okay.
And what we try to do, because the setting is not designed to be for preschool, because it's more of a socialization. It gives children the chance to learn and grow within an environment, no TV. Everything is done through authentic interactions with the adults and of course other children. And it is amazing when we go down there and you watch these little bodies be able to be self-sufficient, put away their blanket, after they're done washing their hands, to get their paper towel and throw it in the trash. And it's amazing because of the fact that, when they're that young, in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, it's just through that role modeling and through practice that they develop these amazing skills. And I'm just truly, truly impressed each time when I go down there. And I know for Alex and myself, when we need a fix, we go to the centers because it reminds us of why we do.
Right.
And it just puts us back in focus on what's important. The most important is our keiki.
Right. Interesting. To think of you say these little bodies being self-sufficient. It's amazing at what age they become that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like my niece was just telling me about my nephew and he's 2.5, and they'd been gone for the weekend, and he stayed with both sets of grandparents, one day at one and one day at the other one. And of course, when they're with grandparents, they're smothered, right?
Oh, yeah.
With attention and everything. And at this point, he's an only child, but there's another one on the way, and he can't wait for that one. He's wearing his Big Brother T-shirt everywhere. But anyway, so they pick him up, and they get home about 6 o'clock on Sunday night, and they're all set to find out what he's been doing all weekend and all this and that. And he says, "I need time." And she says, "What?" And he says, "I'll be back out in a minute." And he went in. The sunroom is his playroom. He goes in there. He chases his dog out the back door, so he's out on the porch, closes the door, and then comes back and closes the other door. But they can see him playing in there, and he's just sitting there playing with his stuff, and then he reads a book, and then he does this and that. And about 15 minutes later, he comes out, and he says, "Okay, what's for supper?" And it's like, he just had to have his downtime, enough with people. Right?
Yeah, even kids know it. And what's interesting is he's able to call it.
Yeah.
He knew what he needed, and he was
Exactly.
able to articulate it. And what they observed was him actually producing what he said he wanted to do. So,
Yep.
but just hearing that story, it tells me that it's wonderful when adults can be present and be able to allow children to have that level of not only sharing what his thoughts were, but honoring it.
Yeah.
And that is very valuable.
Yeah.
Good job.
It's much better than having him kicking and screaming the rest of the night because he's asked to do what they want him to do.
Well, and that is part of parenting, and that control, or even when parents have limited time and you have to stock all these different things. I got to do the dishes, I got to cook, I got to do all these things within half an hour. And then you have this person on the side of you wanting and craving attention. So, it's working through all those challenges that really truly provides parents with the tools that they need. Number one, to, build those protective factors of resilience, but also to be loving and a healthy family.
Right. I was just sitting there when she was telling me the story this morning on the phone. I'm picturing this thing, right? And she sent me a Snapchat photo with the dog at the window, and then she put the note across the way, his downtime, kind of thing. And it was like, he wasn't mad at him or anything. He just needed to be away from people for a little while.
Right. People and
Interesting.
animals.
People and animals, yeah, because they all have dogs besides his dog being there with him. So.
And a lot of time your animal is part of the family.
Oh, they are.
Count them in with the.
You got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we're doing with ages 12 months to 3 years.
Yeah.
And the $1,000 sounds like a lot, but like you say, there's a lot of money out there to be used for this purpose. And if someone truly is needing, it sounds like the money's available.
Absolutely, especially because of the scholarship that the County of Maui provides. When they go through the process of finding out their what they're eligible for through Arbor Child Care Connection, they have an out-of-pocket cost, and many times it's quite still significant. And so with the scholarship, it helps to offset that part. There's still an out-of-pocket cost, but at least it's less significantly impacting on them because of the support that they get.
Right. Interesting. Very interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's Kahikamali'i Infant and Toddler Center. And then we have... Oh, and then we have a break. Hello. Everybody's looking at the clock. Oh, I am not paying attention. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
And we're back. This is Maui Nonprofit Notes, the weekly radio show where we talk story with our nonprofit executive directors and their staff to see what's going on in their part of the country. No, they're part of the world. Mm-hmm. They're part of the island. Mm-hmm. They're part of the city.
They're part of the county.
They're part of the county. There we go. Okay. So we've talked about the Kahikamali'i Infant and Toddler Center. We've talked about the Ohana Strengthening. Now, for the Ohana, can we go back to that for just a minute?
Absolutely.
Now, this is for women who've been incarcerated.
It's incarcerated as well as women that transition out of incarceration. And I'm going to do a shout out for Carol Vida. She's the person that organizes the project. And she's been working very closely. There's a new coalition called Maui Coming Home. Mm-hmm. And Carol has been actively participating. I think she's the president, actually, out there. But she has worked really diligently, and she has such a passion for just to give the women a second chance so that they can have the tools to be successful. So with all of those elements, the Ohana Strengthening Project supports the incarcerated women and women that are exiting out or have exited out of facility, either here or from Neighbor Island coming home to Maui.
Oh, okay. So this is like parenting skills, kind of getting reacquainted with
but
their
also
families.
Making connections with resources within the community that can help them be successful for housing, food, clothing, the essential, or even getting a job or going back to school.
Okay, because there's not always a husband or a father as part of this family unit.
And in many circumstances, it's very sad to say, but in many circumstances, the core family has been maybe burnt, or there's a large gap of trust. And so to reestablish those pieces, and then also there's a stigma connected to the individual that when they come back, just to get reacquainted and reconnected to the community, sometimes it takes a really hard time. And even if it might not be a hard time because the community is welcoming the individual has that level of either guilt or other very sensitive feelings that they're working on to join back into society. So it's a large transition. And what Carol is doing is working, again, no one can do this alone. It takes the greater community with resources and the opportunity to make those connections and networking to strengthen the opportunities for these individuals and their families.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. That's so invaluable. I mean, if you cannot build those connections, the likelihood of recidivism
absolutely
is so much greater.
Yeah, and for many of them, if they're not successful in that piece, many return back in, and she's seen a revolving door, if you will, of women that has gone back into the system because for whatever reason, and it's never to shut the door on that. There's always that opportunity for success.
Right.
And we want to hope that for everybody.
I gotcha. Okay, then the third piece that we were talking about, this belongs to Alex, huh? Mm-hmm. Alex gets to talk about Head Start.
Yeah.
Come on up to the microphone.
Oh, are we on?
You're on.
Hello.
Hi. Tell us about Head Start.
So for our Head Start program, it's a federally funded preschool program, and we have 11 centers on Maui and 2 on Molokai. Out of all 13 centers, we have 6 that are inclusion, which means we have a partnership with the DOE. And in most centers, we have 20 children enrolled, with the exception of one center in Lahaina that has 19 and one center in Wailuku that has 15. So a total of 254 families get our Head Start services.
So, and you almost always have a wait list that's the same size as your enrollment. Is that right?
Probably.
Or has it gotten worse?
Or pretty close.
Yeah. So if it's a federally funded program, why can't we shake more money loose from the feds to cover some more?
That's a good question. When you can help us figure that out, that would be awesome.
Because it's been kind of stuck at this point for years.
And I'll jump in just to share that the nationwide, they're changing their focus. The focus is going to be more on early Head Start. And the reason why is many states offer universal pre-K. So in most states, the government, the state, provides preschool, and it's universal. That means everybody, regardless of their income, every child can participate in a preschool program. In the state of Hawaii, we're not there yet. We have, I know in Maui County, there's 3 funded state preschools, one in Hana, one on Molokai, and one on Lanai. So as the state builds in their state preschools, perhaps Hawaii will become a state that will eventually focus more on early childhood to the younger level, up to 3 and even 4. Because right now the 4-year-olds are entering into preschool and then going into kindergarten at 5. Now that the age eligibility for kindergarten has changed to the cutoff is July 31st. And so for us here, we're still focused on providing that preschool service. And although we do have early Head Start, we're not ready yet to start looking at the younger children, because there's still that large number of families and children to be served entering into kindergarten. And the reason why we prioritize the 4-year-olds is because we know that they have that 1 year before they enter into kindergarten, and we want them to be successful.
I see. So if there's a child that's 3 and a child that's 4, the 4-year-old is going to get priority, other things being equal.
At this time, yes.
Yeah.
However, I do want to say that we are currently doing a study on Molokai. Because on Molokai, we have found that we do not have that many children on the wait list. So we're trying to see if there's more need for 3-year-old services than 4. So this is a type of analysis, data collection and analysis that we have to do at every location. If there's no wait list of children, then it tells us as a program that perhaps that community is not in great need. We previously served Lanai, and we no longer serve Lanai because now that they have the preschool that the state provides, along with Imalama Inakeki, there's no need for that. And I have to say that the state is serving the low-income children poverty level similar to Head Start. So there's a level of what I'm hoping to say, healthy competition, because we want to work in partnership with the state. We don't want to, have a way that we're going to be competing against the same children.
I see.
Yeah.
So, but then as that progresses, that moves you down to the younger children.
Eventually.
Eventually.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you would do more pre-birth to 3.
And so with Molokai, what we're hoping that the data will prove is that we're going to have enough children that are 3 years of age that we can do a predominantly 3-year-old classroom in one of the 2 classrooms that's currently on Molokai. But again, we don't have the data to prove that yet. That's what we're anticipating on. And if not, then we have to look at the data to make some serious decisions on how do we best serve the communities with the greatest needs.
Right. Wow. So change is in the wind.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of how long is it going to take.
We don't know. However,
when it comes to the government, that's an unknown quantity. Yes.
Yeah. I did want to throw in that little bit about us being different than a lot of other preschools is because we do offer comprehensive services, not just for the child but the whole family. A lot of preschools look at the child, but we look at both the children and the family because we understand that the parents are the first educators. And so we're very well-rounded in that sense where we have different component managers like a disability mental health manager. We have family case managers, health managers. So looking at the whole child, the whole family in the event that, parents want to set goals and, help get them ready on that road to success. And so that sets us apart from other preschools.
I see. Very well put. Okay. So now I hear you've got PSAs running constantly about signing up children because you're really supposed to have as many on your wait list as in the school.
And it's not first come, first serve.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting concept with Head Start. When a family comes in to apply, just because they're coming in say October, doesn't mean that they're going to be on the bottom of the list. Families are considered eligible based on their income, if the child is a foster child, if they're homeless. There's all these what we consider categorically eligible criteria that it sets each family apart, and it's not chronological based on when they came in. Mm-hmm. It's based on need.
Okay, so somebody could show up tomorrow and go through the whole process and be found to be eligible now.
Absolutely.
And the next opening that comes up would be theirs.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And throughout the year, we do have some families that move.
Right.
So slots do become open throughout the school year, and Head Start requires us to have 30 days to fill that vacant slot. And because this is a program that's provided at no cost to families, that's something that we have to keep mindful of. So the wait list, again, is extremely important to us.
So that's great clarification for people who may be hearing that commercial and think, well, my gosh, July was, that's a few months ago. So if they've turned that age and school has already started, it's too late. Mm-hmm. Why are they running it? They're running it because it's not too late.
Right. Never too late.
Never too late. Yeah. You like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you're really, at this point, because of the changes that are going to be taking place on the federal level, looking to expand what you're doing now is moot.
Well, I think that we constantly watch for opportunities. We constantly monitor what's happening in our community because we want to stay current. We don't want to, as I was saying, this is a trend that's happening nationwide. But again, what is real for us here in Hawaii and what is real for us in Maui County? So we constantly look at the data and we make sure that whatever we're doing, we're maximizing because this is taxpayers' dollars that we're using.
Right.
So we maximize our resources to best meet the community needs. And, having more money, meaning that we could possibly increase services, would be great. There's also other barriers because then we need to look at facilities.
Right.
And facilities have to be licensed, meaning that it has to have so much square footage per child, an appropriate playground, and everything costs money. So at this point in time, we're doing, I think, a really good job with what we have. We did reduce this is an interesting concept, but we did reduce our funded enrollment because the federal government was not giving us any more money to do our program operations. And as anyone knows, if you're doing a household budget, you know that the cost of living goes up every single year. And so it's no way possible that you can run a quality program with the same amount of money. And we have staff that are working towards their bachelor's degree, and with each increase of their credentials, they deserve to have the pay that is warranted to someone with that level of education. So it takes a lot of To run a program, the behind the scenes,
right,
it takes a lot of consideration and diligent consideration. It's not just a flip of a switch or, oh, this looks really good. You really have to do your homework and make the best decisions, because you're affecting not only your parents and your children, you're affecting your staff. And they're our most precious resource next to the kids.
Next to the kids, yes.
That we need to have.
Right.
And so I want to make a plug, if I can,
Sure.
because we do have some open positions.
Okay.
If individuals out there in the listening world knows of anyone that has a passion to work with young children and families, we do have an opening for a teacher aide out in Lahaina. We have a lot of Hispanic families out there, so looking for someone, hopefully, that are Spanish speaking. And then we have a temporary hire for 2 positions. One is a Kahalui A, which is at Luana Gardens, teacher aide, and also a temporary hire for a relief aide to support when we have staff that are not able to report to work. And then a health assistant, someone who loves working with not only children and families, but have an interest in health.
Very good. Very good. So they should call.
They can go to our MEO website,
Okay.
or they could even go to our office at 99 Mahalani Street in Wailuku.
Okay. Your website is?
I believe it's www.meoinc.org.
Okay. And if they do want to call and just ask a few questions, they should call.
If they want to call and ask about a teaching position, they
Okay.
can call me or Debbie. 249-2988, and the health assistant, I guess Liz Gillette is our health manager, but also Debbie Amaral would be able to answer some questions about that.
Great. Talking about the whole package, I remember one time during budget discussions, somebody on the council wanted to cut some funding, and they said, "Well, if we cut this much funding, that's not going to do too much damage, is it?" And the bottom line was that even and this number may be way off base, but it seemed to me like $50,000 made a difference of closing a classroom.
Absolutely.
And everybody was just, they were sitting there with their, jaws dropped, saying $50,000 closes a classroom?
Yeah. And one thing that Alex had said about the comprehensiveness, which makes us different, when you start looking at the fact that we have to provide breakfast and lunch, that costs a lot of money. When we have to provide all of the school supplies, parents don't provide anything. When we have to provide the staffing, and it takes, at least one adult to 10 children. So when you start looking at all those elements, and then the facilities that we're in, if there's electricity and water and all the other, and then the facility upkeep of maintenance, it's not, it's not cheap to run.
Right.
It's quite an expensive, very endurance driven.
And you can't just say, okay, we'll eliminate 3 students.
No.
That doesn't work that way.
No, and Head Start is driven by the performance standards, and it's all based on federal requirements that we have to meet. If not, we have the possibility of jeopardizing our funding. So we have to stay on top of it.
Gotcha. Thank you, Alex and Debbie, for being with us today and answering some of these questions and bringing light to what's going on and bringing us up to date with what some of the part of the country is doing. And we'll probably be seeing it here sometime in the next 7 years.
Absolutely.
Isn't that what they say? 7 years to work its way across?
Yep.
Something like that. Anyway, thanks again, and good having you here, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie. Thanks, Alex. We're going to shift gears here now, and we're going to talk to Stacy Moniz. And in case that name sounds familiar, she is all about... I don't think I want to say it the way I was going to say it. I was going to say that name is synonymous with domestic violence.
Oh, it kind of is. Mm-hmm.
I guess it is, isn't it?
Yeah. Especially here anyway.
Right.
Maui,
I mean, she's the... Are you the diva?
I like that term. Yes, I'll take it.
So we joke about it, we laugh about it, but domestic violence definitely is nothing to joke about.
No, definitely not. And October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so I cannot believe that it's already almost October. But it is, because it's a very steep hill to the holidays after that. So we'll just fly right into, But, domestic violence affects so many people in our community, and this has been a really, really tough year for our community. in relation to domestic violence. You know, we had that horrible murder at Foodland of Kehau Farias, which just, you know, rocked our whole community, and then a murder-suicide in Kahului shortly after that, and then we had a horrible triple murder on the Big Island right after that. And so it's really brought a huge awareness to this issue, and so we're hoping that people will be inspired to come to some of our events during October. Our domestic violence task forces throughout the county have been working hard on different events, educational events and awareness raising. And, you know, our Central Maui we have a lot of domestic violence task forces in our county, which is great. There's one on Molokai, there's one on Lanai, Hana, West Maui, and the Central Maui task forces. And we all kind of do different but similar things. Our desire is to raise awareness about domestic violence. So the first thing that's coming up is this Saturday, sponsored by the West Maui Task Force, which is a very, very active task force. For the 5th year in a row, they are sponsoring the annual Walk a Mile in Her Shoes event. It is a men's march against violence against women. And as we were saying earlier, you were saying, Susie, there's nothing funny about violence against women, but I will say that there is something inherently funny about a bunch of dudes walking around in high heels. And it's hilarious. But there's definitely a serious message behind it, which is if you want to understand someone's perspective, then you need to walk a mile in their shoes. Right. And so we do an educational piece just before they do their walk. They take a pledge not to commit, condone, or stand by domestic violence and sexual assault. So it's a very wonderful pledge that they take. But men secretly love walking around in high heels, and I know this because they show up early to pick out the nice shoes. And I don't mean the practical.
You furnish the shoes?
Yes, we do. We have them all the way to size 16, so there is no excuse. There's no excuse, fellas. You just need to come and we got your size. Trust me. But they come and they pick the really nice red high heel shoes, the spiky ones, because if you're going to do it, go big or go home, and that's what we've seen. So every year we have a great contingency of the firefighters, the police come. The chief of police has come a couple years, and that man has really big feet, which is funny. You know, he's Samoan and Tongan, right? So he blew out his shoes the first year. But we bought new ones, so I'm going to save those for him. And they all take a pledge to support and to understand what domestic violence is all about. But then it gets fun. And this year we have Fred's Garage, which if you haven't, they're a band from Lahaina and they're amazing. This guy Ray Chin, he is so talented. And last year and this year again, we're going to have Darren Lee, who is Maui's Elvis. He is so talented. Oh my God, he's so talented. So if you haven't, that alone is worth showing up, because they sing great songs for men walking in high heels, and it's just really fun. And we have lots of great door prizes, amazing hotel stays, and then you get a free T-shirt.
I'm going to stop you right there because I have to think about what kind of songs go with men walking in high heels. Let's take a short break while we all think about that one. Yeah.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in Central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
And we are back. We're sitting here thinking of all these songs that are appropriate for guys trying to walk in these shoes.
Yeah.
These shoes are made for walking.
Yes. Walk this way.
Walk this way. All these kind of things. I mean,
fun.
just that. Do
Yeah.
you videotape any of this stuff?
Oh, yes. So if you are curious, you can go to there's a Women Helping Women West Maui Facebook page, and we've got video from last year. Or the Women Helping Women page also has some of the walk a mile. If you Google the hashtag WAM Maui, Walk a Mile Maui, you will see lots and lots of stuff from the last couple of years. It's really, really fun. We do everything from video to, and last year we had the Lahaina Luna football team, and it really is a great awareness raiser. We do a very serious exercise where we talk about, the fact that men and women walk in very different realities in our society, and we ask the men, like, what do you do consciously and subconsciously to avoid being physically abused or sexually assaulted every day? And most men don't have an answer for that, but you ask women that same question, and we have a whole list of things that we do consciously and subconsciously to avoid being physically abused or sexually assaulted every day.
Wow.
For everything from when I leave my office to how I walk to my car, what I wear. I have my keys in my hand. I'm always alert and aware. So it's an example of how men and women just walk a different path. And so we talk about that prior to the walk, and then they walk a mile in women's shoes and get a full experience of that. So it's very educational as well, and so we're really glad
educational,
to do that.
Eye-opening, whatever. I
Yes.
mean, and like you said, this has been one of those years.
Yeah.
I mean, when our what is it? We have half-closed eyes to things like this.
Sure.
Because it doesn't affect us.
Directly.
We don't see that much of it. We don't hear that much about it. When we do hear it, it's some big name that has done it in California or is doing it in Kentucky or wherever. It's just not here. And then all of a sudden we have these 3 right in a row here.
Yes.
And of course we have this big trial that's going on right now for the one that I think you guys have been working on the Scott case for 3 years?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, at that point, we had 2 women missing.
That's
and
right.
Very clearly, obviously, domestic violence related. I mean, the number one cause of death to pregnant women is domestic homicide. So I'm not a juror, and I'm not trying to say, but I'm going to say that's not even a domestic violence community statistic. That is a March of Dimes statistic, that the leading cause of death to pregnant women is domestic homicide, more than everything else combined. And so it's just a staggering statistic. And so, 1 out of 4 women will get abused in her lifetime by an intimate partner. There are also men who are abused. I want to put a message in here, too, that our name is Women Helping Women because overwhelmingly the victims that we work with are women. However, we serve and work with a lot of men in our program, and that number grows every year. So I just want to let everybody know. We have a shelter, we have a restraining order programs in Lahaina, in Hana, on Lanai, and our office right here in Wailuku. So, we have 24-hour hotline. If you want to call, I'll give you that number. It's 579-9581. Our website is womenhelpingwomenmaui.org. So, there's a lot of ways to access help, but, it is easy to sort of turn our heads until it happens right in our backyard, right in our food land down the street.
Right.
But it's happening every day to your neighbors, and that's what's hard. And when you work in an anti-campaign, so say you're working against meth or cigarettes or cancer. There's nothing good about cancer or cigarettes or drugs, but the reality is when we're talking about domestic violence, we're talking about our brothers, our father, our husbands, our boyfriend, our boss, our pastor. And it's a lot more difficult because it's people that are in our community, people we love and care a lot about. But we want their behavior to stop, and that's why we as a community have to come together to work to end domestic violence. Women Helping Women will be celebrating our 40th anniversary next year. We've been working diligently to end domestic violence in our community. And have we really made a difference? I think we have, but we haven't ended domestic violence yet. And the only way to end it is going to be that the entire community comes together to say domestic violence is not acceptable.
Right.
And I know that it can happen because I look at programs like the Mothers Against Drunk Driving. when I was a kid, people really didn't care. We buckled up maybe sometimes, and we all have that uncle or auntie that goes home driving drunk, and you kind of say a little prayer for them, but it wasn't as huge a stigma as it has been because of the work of groups like Mothers Against Drunk Driving. They changed the entire society's opinion about driving drunk. That's what has to happen. That level of it is unacceptable to be violent in a relationship that's the mentality we need.
I think you said something interesting when you were talking about like breast cancer and some of these others. When they first started doing the mammography thing, and they were talking about how all of a sudden there was a spike in the number of breast cancers, and it was like, how's it getting worse? We're having so much more effect on people. But there was so much worse for a little while because there were so many people who were now getting taking the test.
Absolutely.
And so they were being spotted earlier,
Yeah.
and it could be saved much easier, and potentially might not have been if they hadn't found it. So there is a spike there at that turning point.
Yes.
But then now you sit there and you go, yeah, it's working. It
is.
And we think about the same thing with domestic violence. There's a spike because we're all aware of it.
Yes. And we're talking about it.
We're talking about it, and we're saying, it's not anything on you that you have been affected by domestic violence or been a what's the word I want?
A victim.
A victim.
Or survivor,
there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, just go and talk about it.
Yeah.
Talk to somebody.
Yes.
And make yourself aware of what you can do, and also what maybe can be done to help the person who's been doing this.
Yeah. It's hard, though, because there's so much judgment against victims of domestic violence. We would never blame a victim of cancer or blame we don't do
That's
that, but
true.
we definitely do that because we think something's wrong with her choices, or, you knew he was violent and you went back again, and what's wrong with you? And the reality is that there's nothing wrong with that. And they're not committing any crime. We need to shift our focus and say, rather than why did she go back or why didn't she just leave? Because when women leave, it gets much more dangerous.
Worse, yeah.
Women are 75 times more likely to be killed at that point. This happened with this woman at Foodland.
Right.
She had just gotten a restraining order and left. She did everything perfect that you would want a victim to do, and she still ended up being killed. So we always say that leaving is not the best answer for everyone, but we need to shift our question now to say, why doesn't he get help? Why, and what are we as a society doing to promote and protect his right to be violent? Because we do that a lot. We justify it. Maybe she talks too much, or she's too loud, or this or that. We assume that maybe she did something to piss him off, and really we're again now blaming the victim instead of saying, why can't he control himself?
Right.
Yeah. So we have to shift so much energy, and this has been hundreds of years of this belief.
Right. Well, and from time to time we talk about the cycle.
Yes.
Breaking the cycle. And if he's that way, there's a real good chance that he's that way because somebody in his family has been that way.
Yeah.
That's how he grew up.
Yeah.
Accepting that behavior.
And victims too. We grow up with that same, and that's just how it looks in a relationship. So we are definitely trying to do a lot to educate the community. So I'm going to just mention a couple of the other activities that are happening this month. This Saturday, October 1st, is the Walk a Mile West Maui at the outlets at Lahaina. And then on October 7th, on First Friday, Parents and Children Together will be selling plants at First Friday. They're going to do this whole Paint the Town Purple. Purple is the color of domestic violence. So they're going to be, wear purple, come by the Pact building and take your picture with the...
That's First Friday in Wailuku.
Yep, starting at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
And then on Saturday, October 15th, the Committee on the Status of Women, the county's Committee on the Status of Women, is hosting their 3rd annual Domestic Violence Forums. It's right there at Ka'ahumanu Shopping Center. We'll all have tables. All the agencies that work in domestic violence will be there, the police department, and we'll all have information available. So it's a great day to learn and come and meet your domestic violence advocates in the community. And then on So it's on Tuesday, October 18th. We're having our annual domestic violence candlelight vigil, and we're going to start with sign waving at 4:30. We'll have speakers, survivors. We're going to honor the memory of those women who've been killed by domestic violence this year, as well as previous years. And then, we'll have speakers, and that'll happen at UH Maui College on that great lawn. So we'll be waving signs in front of the college at 4:30. The vigil will start, the speakers about 5:15, and then candlelight at the end. We're not, candles are tricky, so we're hoping we'll get those LED candles again.
There you go.
And then the county council will be also doing a resolution in the mayor's office. I don't have those dates yet, but domestic violence affects so many people that we want to really put this out there and destigmatize being a victim of domestic violence. So we're really working on doing that. So,
is there a sense of calm in some people when they are? This is going to sound really weird. When they're part of a domestic violence situation, and for the last 10 years, it's been, I know when it's going to happen. I put up with it. Things are fine then for 6-8 months, and then something happens, and it happens again. But it's not escalated.
Yeah.
Can I just assume that it can stay like that?
Yes.
Or
Sometimes
if I go
it does.
try to get help and he finds out about it, am I asking for it to get worse?
Yeah.
What's the answer?
Sometimes every relationship's different. So sometimes it could be like that. Like it never gets any worse. It just sort of stays at this, that there is a pattern though that happens, and there's a tension building, and then there's this explosion. So that's one of the cycles of violence. And however, unfortunately for a lot, domestic violence, the core issue is power and control. So the abusive partner really wants to have and maintain power and control. They want the victim to do what they want them to do, or to not do what they don't want them to do. And so they'll try all these other kinds of controlling behaviors. And if those don't work, then the violence is the final straw. It's something I can always revert to the violence if all these other tactics don't work. So if it's about power and control, then if the victim starts to try to make moves to get away, then the abuser's losing control, and that's when the violence can escalate. And then it can escalate to even murder. So that's why we always say, we know it's dangerous to leave. And the threats that happen are, I'm not just going to kill you, I'm going to kill your kids, I'm going to kill your parents, I'm going to kill your dog.
Right.
So there are a lot of real legitimate reasons that victims of domestic violence choose to stay. And we want to help when you're ready to safety plan so that you can leave in a safer way. Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's a process. It's not easy. I always honor when victims of domestic violence make a decision to leave. It's a huge decision. Even to just give us a call is a big decision. So.
Wow. You guys have got a big problem on your hands. Actually, I shouldn't say we've got.
Our whole community does. It's true. And that's what's going to take. And, I want to just say that, we've been doing this work a long time, and what inspires us is the reality that we see families every day who survive domestic violence and thrive. I met someone who said that her mom brought them to the shelter, and she said, oh, my mom went back to my dad like it was a bad thing. And I said, well, no, so then what happened? And she said, oh yeah, well, what I can tell you what my mom did when she came to the shelter, you told her she had a backbone. She found her backbone there, and things were never the same. And things weren't ever the same because she was different, her children were different, and when they went home, they made a big difference. And that's all we can hope for at Women Helping Women. Yeah.
Wow, that's tremendous.
It's a huge success.
So thank you for what you and your staff do, and everybody, all these events that are going on in October. Give Women Helping Women a call at
579-9581
and join in with them and help the cause. Maui Nonprofit Notes is sponsored as a community service by Pacific Source, the builder's choice. Give Paul and his staff a call at 986-0380 or stop by their showroom in the Waikapu Bayshard on East Oahe Way to see how they can help you with your building project. We want to thank MEO's Early Head Start program and Women Helping Women who were here today to talk story with us. We wanted to thank you for joining in, and don't forget to join us again next week right here, same time, same place. In the meantime, I'm Susie Tiemann, Executive Director of Lokahi Pacific, and your host for Maui Nonprofit Notes. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week. Aloha.